Welcome back to Winging It Buffalo Style. With your children home from school this week, you're probably spending more time with them than usual. And do you find yourself wondering what you can do, if anything, to better your relationship? Today in the Hot Sauce, we're learning how some modern parenting styles may be too much for some families.
And this is one of the major problems in American parenting today, is that the mother has bought into this new propaganda to the effect that the good mommy pays as much attention to her child as she possibly can.
News 4's Teresa Weakley sat down with parenting expert John Roseman to learn about his advice for parents in our area. Teresa joins us on the couch right now with a preview of her upcoming special report on this. Welcome back to the show, Teresa.
Thank you very much. Love to be here always.
And how did you find out about John Roseman, and how did you connect with him?
It was actually our boss who said, hey, this guy is going to be here for a couple days. He gave two different lectures, one dealing with teenagers and one with younger children. We're kind of focused more on the younger children advice that he has. But I went to one of these, and this guy was just so interesting. And as a parent of a younger child, I just found it almost comforting as to what he said.
And it seems, from that soundbite at least that we just heard from him, he was talking about the mother's relationship with the child. Is that what his main focus is?
It's not just the mother, but the parent's relationship with the child and how we speak to our children. One thing he kind of pointed out was that oftentimes we're making requests of our children and kind of trying to cajole them into doing what we want them to do, as opposed to taking a more authoritative parent stance and saying, I want you to do this, this is happening now. And it's, you know, you want to have a good relationship with your kids, so it's not always easy to do that, but he kind of talks about how you can do that.
A little bit of discipline can go a long way, I'm sure, and he seems to be focusing on old-fashioned values.
Exactly. He says, there's another part of the interview where he says that basically we've been listening to the wrong people for the last 50 years. That's surprising to hear that. There's a lot of new parenting advice. He says that we just need to get back to basics, essentially. And a lot of that has to do with the guilt that we feel as moms. He's talking about the working mom and the guilt because we're not spending enough time with our kids. He specifically said that we shouldn't pay too much attention to our kids because then they won't pay attention to us. And you'll hear more about why he says that, because I know that that upsets some people.
I was going to say, I'm not a parent, but I have a feeling that some parents aren't going to want to be told that they are paying too much attention to their child.
But we all feel like we're not paying enough attention, so some people might like to hear that.
And what is his family? When did he raise his children, and how old are they?
His children are older now, but this is how it all started. He said his older child had a lot of behavioral problems, and he says that it was all because of what he learned in grad school as a psychologist, because they weren't doing things the way his parents had done things. And that's when they started to turn things around and started to see a difference with the older child and eventually the younger child that they have.
And what does he think about the younger generation of children that are growing up today with all of, with new technology and more of a instant gratification society?
Well, that's one thing he talks about, is kind of delaying consequences and that having a bigger impact instead of the instant consequence. And another thing is that we try to get our kids involved in so many different activities, and he talks about the age where that actually is beneficial versus trying to start at 3 years old and focusing more on getting your kids to listen to you and obey when they're 3, 4, 5 years old, rather than getting them to do so many different activities. So this is one expert's opinion. There are a lot of different opinions out there, but he was very interesting to listen to, and I think you'll find him interesting too.
Okay, once again, your special report about parenting expert John Roseman airs tomorrow morning at 6:30 on News 4's Wake Up. Really interesting part of the report is that you took our viewers' questions to him, and he's going to answer those.
Yeah, I asked you to send me your questions, and one question in particular had to do with getting your child to listen to you when it's time to leave. He had some very specific advice for that question.
All right, thank you so much, Teresa, for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
All right.